Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is a man who has no minutes in this international window. It's Logan Stone.
I didn't know Matthew Hoppe was going to be on the show. That's kind of exciting, though.
Yes,
I've played as many minutes as him. Yeah.
Yeah.
My cat is also thrilled that Matthew Hoppe has no minutes.
Yes. So we are, of course, going to talk the 4 MLS games that took place, and we're going to talk the 2 World Cup qualifiers that took place in the last, week?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll look ahead and preview the Costa Rica game, and we'll see how it goes. For there, might be a little bit of a shorter episode. Not a lot to talk about. It wasn't like a full MLS schedule like it sometimes is with these international windows. So depending on how much we want to vent about this, it could be a short episode. But I guess let's start with the. You want to just get the 4 MLS games out of the way, and then
let's do that.
Talk. Okay. So the first MLS game that took place was on the 9th, and it was New York Red Bulls versus Inter Miami. Kamala scoring in the 25th minute, and that was it. Red Bulls beating Inter Miami, the best team in the Eastern Conference. Which puts, do I have the standings up? Yes. So it puts Red Bull only 2 points behind Atlanta, 3 points behind Montreal. And it puts Miami at 32 points. They're 8 points away from the playoffs. I think they're pretty much out at this point.
Yeah, they're out. It's weird for the best team in the East to be out this quickly, but it's been a really long season, and there was I don't know if you saw the video, Jordan, or the highlight. There was somebody that put Gonzalo Higuain in the washer, and he just was like spinning in circles because somebody was going around and dribbling the ball. It was like, it's a disaster. It's been a rough couple of years for Inter Miami.
Yes, it has. We'll see how it goes for them in the future. But do you think they keep Phil Neville with some of the improvement they've had, and they just see, okay, what do you do with another season and see if you can improve?
Yeah, and I think you keep Phil, and I think you have 2 or 3 DP spots left open, right? So I don't know. They seem to be a mess, and they thought that Phil could be the guy to come in to fix it, but I don't really know how much of that is going to be next year. Just because I think this team needs a hard reset. I'm not sure the Higuains are what you need. And Blaise Matuidi's not young, so it's like, what do you do with that, and how do you move forward with him? I don't know. And a lot of injury issues. Their defense is awful. They've got a long way to go, and I just don't know where you go from here. But it's not Phil Neville's fault, and I think that he's got such a bad enough team, and they've performed well enough that it's, I think his job's safe.
Yeah, I would probably think so too. Let's see. We had Cincinnati versus Philadelphia with Shabilko scoring in the 45th plus 3, if I can get that number right. Then we had Paxton Aronson scoring in the 56th minute, and then Harris Medunian, the former Union player, scoring in the 82nd minute, and the Union closed it out and leave with all 3 points from West End Stadium, which puts the Union still in 3rd, but they're only 2 points back of Nashville. So there's a real possibility the Union can get into 2nd. They're 5 points above DC now, and they are 6 points above the drop out of the playoff zone. So I feel like the Union, after their tough stretch, have really turned it on, and they are probably here because it's MLS, going to be safe and make the postseason.
Yes, they got the second best defense in the East, and they've played tremendous defense. I think that they do well enough in the back, especially with Andre Blake back there, to where they can really compete with teams that are in the top of the East. The only thing that's going to bother them, and it does look like they're starting to come around a little bit more. I think that if they can score, they're, again, a team that can be very threatening. And I think if you can get Casper to score, Sergio Santos, if he can come and score a goal or two.
He did get injured, Santos
Shabelka
as he
did.
was, Santos as he was
Okay.
walking before he had to get taken off the field. But people said it doesn't look as bad as they initially thought, so he might be okay.
But if they can find somebody that just scores, I think that this team defends so well that they've got, the opportunity to win games. And I think that when it comes to the playoffs, when you've got home field advantage, they can go through a couple rounds and compete with some of these big teams just because of their defense being so solid. And I think they're well coached. Now it's just a matter of, can they find anybody to get on the end of those balls? And I think that Shabelka, if he can start to play and get in form, if they can make a little run and get hot here before he heads into the playoffs, you're looking at a team that can compete with, the Revs, Nashville, Orlando. I think that they compete with the top 4 or 5 teams in the East.
All right, let's go ahead and look at the Seattle Sounders versus Vancouver in a Cascadia matchup. O'Neal scoring 5 minutes in, Benazet scoring in the 14th minute, Will Bruin in the 55th minute, Leo Chu scoring in the 90th minute, and then White scoring in the 45th +1 for Vancouver. And Seattle finishes 4-1, and it puts Seattle still in first place in the West. They now have a 5-point lead, which is got to be the longest in a while. It's the biggest lead for them. And they've actually now clinched a playoff spot. Oh, and with that Union-Cincinnati game, Cincinnati have been officially eliminated from the playoffs. With a month to go, and they're the worst team in the league. So that tells you how crazy the season has been. But yeah, Seattle has clinched the playoffs. They are not able. They're 20 points up from the drop, and with 8 games to go. Yeah, 8 times 3 is 23. No, that doesn't make sense, does it?
6 games.
6 games.
34. Yeah.
There you go. That's why I didn't become a math teacher. So then we had Minnesota lose to Colorado, and Minnesota scored 8 minutes in, and which is amazing. And then it just fell apart at home too. They get Colorado gets a red card in the 57th minute. Then Bassett scores a penalty in the 73rd. Barrios scores in the 84th, and Lucas Estevez in the 90+3 to have this game finish 3-1 to the Rapids. Down a man. This puts Minnesota up 1 point in the playoff spot from Vancouver, and it has Colorado squarely in 3rd place, 5 points above Portland. They might get a home playoff game.
Yeah, it'd be exciting. And we were pretty high on Colorado, but not that high on Colorado going in. We thought that they had a good enough team to compete, at least get into the playoffs. And I think that we had them pretty high, but not like they were going to do some serious damage. But I think their defense has played well, which has been a shock to I know many. And then I think that their offense is finally coming around. I think they're scoring goals. I think that they get good chances when they've got the ball. And I think when you look at Vancouver, you're looking at a team that is sniffing the playoffs, and I don't know if we ever thought that would happen. I know we had them ranked pretty low. I think we both had them in the bottom of the West. But I think that when you look at Vancouver and when you look at a new coach coming in a new situation and being a point off the playoffs and chasing down Minnesota, they've got a little bit of a tougher schedule and run going into the playoffs than Minnesota does, but they do play each other in about 4 weeks, so that could be pretty interesting. You get down to the final 3 games of the season, and those 2 teams could be jockeying for 7th and 8th and playing one another, so that would be pretty exciting there.
Minnesota, my MLS Cup pick. So do I hope that they don't get a home playoff game? Because they just lost at home, so I don't know if I want that. But yeah, so where this puts us right now, New England in first in the East, Nashville, Philly, Orlando round out the top 4. DC, NYCFC, and Montreal in the playoff spots. Atlanta, Red Bulls, Columbus just outside of the playoff spots. And then Miami, Chicago, Toronto, and Cincinnati in the bottom of the East. Over in the West, Seattle lead, as we said. Then SKC, Colorado, Portland round out the top 4. RSL, LA Galaxy, and Minnesota round out the playoff spots so far. Vancouver, LAFC, and San Jose are within shooting distance of the playoffs. And then Dallas, Houston, Austin, the Texas trio are at the bottom of the West. All right. So let's get depressed. So we're going to go over to, let's start off happy. We did have USA versus Jamaica on Thursday, which finished 2-0 USA with goals from Ricardo Pepi twice, 49th and 62nd minute. He comes off the field in the 68th minute, and that was it. We also saw Luca De La Torre come on the field. Shaq Moore came on the field. Timothy Weah, Zardes, Acosta came on the field. All in those, late subs there. But what was your impressions of the USA when they faced off against Jamaica on Thursday night?
Yeah, so I think, one, I wanted to say that the atmosphere for the U.S. men's national team in Austin was fantastic. I thought it was probably the loudest that I've heard as far as qualifying in Gold Cup. It was really loud. I mean, it was constant the whole time. I know people were making fun of our chants because I've got a bunch of the European students, and they were always like, what are those chants? They're awful. I was like, I don't know. We're saying Dale, Dale, USA, and I'm like, that's Spanish. That's not English
but
at all.
Spanish is part of our heritage.
It is, but like it's so funny because it's like they go, you don't have any original ones. It's that I believe that we can win and stuff. I'm like, yeah, those are Nike and Under Armour.
Hey, can I actually Can I actually break something for everybody? Nobody has original chants.
Jordan,
nobody.
How dare you?
Nobody. Go to a Chelsea game, listen to a City game, and you'll hear some of the same chants with just different player names or different club names. Come on, you boys in blue that the Union sings. Somebody else sings that somewhere else.
Yeah.
Everybody has taken chants from other people.
The Saints go marching in. They use that all the time in England.
They use it for Southampton. They use it for any team.
Tottenham.
Exactly.
So
none of these are original.
Yeah.
And so I just needed to get that off my chest because it drives me nuts. As long as they're chanting, as long as they're having a good time and they're willing the team forward, I'm totally cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing. At Austin, I was like, man, can we just try to find more games in Texas? We were really well supported there. And I do know if we played Mexico, it'd be a little different because they'd buy tickets over us and you'd have about an even stadium, I think, there. But it was interesting. Like, I'd never seen that many U.S. fans together at once. And I know you've been watching a lot longer than I have as far as qualifying. But it was just cool to see in this new stadium. And they're unveiling this new stadium. And you've got the whole team there. And then they're playing well. Well, they didn't play well in the first half. The first half was frustrating, I think. It had that feel of like, okay, here we go again. Like, we're not creating anything. Nothing is being done in the front. Are we having a hard time finding Pepi? What's the deal? But then it was like in the second half, I think Greg made adjustments and it got more vertical where they were playing balls in and they were having Pepi come up to get it and then playing on the wings and then they were going forward pretty quickly. You got many times where Musa was absolutely just destroying defenders and going by them. And I think that that's ultimately what changed the game. I thought that he played extremely well. And then you had Ricardo Pepi, who I think we've all kind of penciled in as the number 9 now. I think that he's shown enough. He did things in this game that we've been trying to get Sargent to do for, years. And Doyle talked about it all the time when they said Sargent, he has a really hard time getting on the end of the ball. Like he inches away from the ball. Yeah. And that's his job. Like just poking a ball in. And then this match in the second half, there was a couple balls Ricardo Pepi knock in that, it was literally him sliding in and just poking the ball into the goal, which is a striker you need to do. And especially when you've got good wingers, which I think the U.S. have probably some of the, greater depth, I guess, at wingers. I think that their wingers are pretty talented and they play extremely well. And 2 of the most talented wingers they have weren't even playing in Pulisic and Reyna. But I think that Brendan played extremely well. And again, it was funny because I saw a bunch of tweets that said, we might not even know half the guys that are going to be in the 2026 roster yet because they're just not there yet. And I think that they're right. I think that some of these guys that we've been penciling in forever, like a Weston McKennie or a Tyler Adams, they have a hard time staying on the pitch. They might not be there. You might have a Yunus Musa sitting there deep lying in the midfield or wherever.
You know who's going to be in 2026 World Cup?
Jordan Weekend?
Paxton Aronson.
Oh, yeah, the Aronson squared.
Yeah.
Jordan and I were talking about this. It would be really fun to see the Aronsons, but I think you're going to because everything I've ever read was that the scouting report is that Paxton's better than Brendan. So it's which is scary because Brendan's probably right now maybe our second best player, if not our best. So yeah, I really love the second half though. And I know you were on your way home from a wedding and stuff and all sorts of crazy things, but
from a rehearsal dinner.
Yeah.
That didn't have the game on in a good area, so I had to like watch part of it on my phone while staring across the bar. And then when I thought we were leaving, my wife was taking pictures with people. And then by the time we actually left, and because I didn't actually like the food at this restaurant, I went to Burger King. And then listened to the rest of the game on the way home through my Bluetooth. But by the time I got home, it was the 93rd minute. And then with Saturday, we had a wedding. And then Sunday, I ended up missing most of the game, too. So I had to, look up some stuff. It was right. I saw like the first half of the game yesterday, which, of course, nothing really changed. And that the first half was awful.
Yeah, it was just like the second half was so the second half was so good that this next game is so disappointing, and we'll get into why. But it sucks because they played so well. They might have played the best second half they've played all of qualifiers, and I'd go on record and say they probably did.
Honduras away.
Yeah, that was a really good one. That's true. But this is up there in the top two halves that you've had because they've had some really crappy halves. It just sucks because it just like deflates a little bit. And I know that Wednesday, ultimately, if you win that game on Wednesday, that it fixes everything, but it just sucks because of how well they played in the second half. Momentum should have carried them a little bit to at least get a point in Panama. But yeah, we can talk about that, I guess. Really good, really, really good half by Ricardo Pepi and Brendan Yunus Musa.
Okay. Let's go ahead and also talk that night, Mexico and Canada drew 1-1. And that really helps sets the stage for where we're at in this qualifying window after this game, too.
Yeah.
So, then, on Sunday, we lose to Panama 1-0. Mexico beats Honduras 3-0, whatever. But also, Jamaica's held to another draw, which puts the USA still in second place after this disastrous result, okay? So let's just keep that in mind. I know some people say, well, we still have our toughest away games to go. We got away at Mexico, away at Canada, away at Costa Rica. Those will be tough.
They will.
One, I feel pretty good about us against Mexico. I just feel like we match up well against them.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who's on the field. It's like this. Right. It's almost like when it's Ravens, Steelers, no matter how bad
Ravens,
the teams
Dolphins.
are. No, I was just saying, like, when you have Ravens, Steelers, which is a huge rivalry, and no matter how bad the teams were,
they play well.
Or if, like, Ravens are good and the Steelers are bad, or the Steelers are good and the Ravens are bad, it ends up being like a 3-point difference, like a 3-point game. And this kind of has that same feel recently where, the USA, no matter how good or bad we are, especially this summer, we play them well. And really, that's how it's been recently. I say recently because there's been a few times where we get our just ass handed to us by them. But I feel pretty good about that. Away at Costa Rica has not been as good this year, so I feel okay about that one. And away at Canada, I think for sure we can get a point. So I do think it's okay. Especially Canada is not like one of those, Canada doesn't have the atmosphere that a lot of people complain about for the Central American countries because Canada doesn't have that history of soccer. They're up there worried about hockey all the time, right? So I'm not sure that one will be super tough. It'll just be tough because Canada's good. Like Canada is really good. So Annabelle Godoy scored for Panama in the 54th minute. And that was all she wrote. It was a really bad first half, and it seems to be a common theme now. If we're talking about how inconsistent we are, we are consistently really bad in the first half of games. even those games against Mexico in those trophies we won has really been, where we concede early or something, and then we have to kind of come back in the second half. So I'm getting tired of that, though. What are your thoughts on what is it that makes them so bad in first halves?
I think a lot of it actually has to do with the fact that one, our players are a lot of them are European. I know that's got a huge I know that there's a huge wrench into things because while these teams haven't maybe been together because of COVID, at least they've probably been together more than we have. And I think that when you look at our lineups consistently, they're not the same. So I was like looking through the lineups and kind of going through and saying, who is a staple on this team that have been here for, as many games as I can think of over the last, 2 months or 3 months that we've been watching them. And I was thinking about it, and it's fun because I'm like, okay, in the back four, Dest is most of the time healthy in there. Other than that, the other three have been just a wash with JV out now, with Miles Robinson surging onto the scene. You've had different players in the center back position. Anthony Robinson has been in that spot. You had Tim Ream at some point. Walker Zimmerman played there. Like it's been a mismatch. And then it's been in the midfield. I mean, if you think about it, Tyler Adams was out, that first couple of one, he missed a couple of the games because he's the European player. So he had to miss, Gold Cup that they missed. And then if you really think about too, he had been injured. So there's been some of that. Weston McKennie's got sent home from his last World Cup window, and he was sent home back to Juventus. So he hadn't been playing. Pulisic hasn't been healthy. You've had Hoppy, who we thought was really it was a head scratcher that he hadn't played, that he didn't get any minutes in this last game. So he hasn't been real consistent in playing time. Ricardo Pepi just came onto the team in the last 4 games and has played extremely well. I would say, Jordan, if you're looking at this team, who are the most consistent players? I think there's 3 of them. I think when you look at it, Matt Turner, Brendan Aronson, and then I'm blanking. Who am I blanking on? Somebody else. Oh, Miles Robinson. So I think those 3, if you think about it, are the only 3 that are so consistent because everybody else has been hurt, or they've been sent home, or they haven't been over here because of Europe. So I think that's one thing. I think the first half they're having a hard time finding their cohesive unit. And I think they're having a hard time building up play because they don't play a lot together. I think as you start to see them starting to play more together, and the more that Ricardo Pepi plays, the more that Brendan Aronson plays. I actually thought Paul Arriola played extremely well against Jamaica. I know a lot of people have a problem with that because they don't like Paul, because they think he's MLS and MLS only. But I thought that he was probably the best 3 players that we had because he pressed so well. My cat was really good too. She was really impressive. But no, and for those that are listening, my cat's attacking me again. But I think that's it. I think that you're finding a hard time in these first halves because there's no consistency. And Greg really didn't help the team. I know you have to rotate players, but gosh, when I look down on that bench, now that I see it, I'm like, Kellen Costa played. Like, why not play like Torrey, or why not play Matthew Hoppy, or why play some of these guys? And the way that he had them playing too, it was like okay, let's play him now, and then we'll sub on some of these guys that played half of the game. Okay, well then what's wrong with subbing on like a Miles Robinson, or if you needed a Pepi earlier, or Matthew Hoppy, but instead they go with like Christian Roldan, and they brought Yedlin in, and I'm like, what's happening? I don't get it.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because so Jenny Chu, who works for CBS, she had this after the game. She had this segment that's also posted on Twitter now as well. Maybe we can see if we'll share it. But what happened is she says to Greg, what she heard Greg say to the team after Jamaica was, we're not qualified yet. If we act like we're qualified, then it's going to bite us in the ass pretty much. Yeah. Right. But then she goes on and says, well, 7 changes in your 11 makes it seem like you think you already qualified.
Yes.
Right. So he wasn't like practicing what he was preaching, is pretty much what she was trying to get at there. Why did we make all these subs? But also, why were some of these players not subbed? Paul Arriola went 90 minutes against Jamaica and then plays 45 here.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't he just like a bench option to run at tired legs later? Like,
right.
Why is Matthew Hoppe, as we mentioned at the top of the show, hasn't had any minutes yet? And like you said, consistency, this was an issue with the Klinsmann era too. There was never a consistent lineup game to game. There's rumors that we're going to see Chris Richards and Robinson together in the back next week, which means, again, no consistency. And, I mean, it just seems to be nothing. No consistency. I wouldn't even be shocked if he put Stefan out there on Wednesday.
He would. He totally would.
Seriously, there's just no consistency at all. Pepe is 18 years old, and he can't play 3 games in a week. He does it for Dallas. I mean, I don't understand where
we're... Like Busio's on the bench.
Busio has no minutes. None.
De La Torre was actually one of the better players coming on. This is sub in Austin, and then he didn't even get to play. It's like, no, we're good. I don't get it. Matthew Hoppe is really like that one.
And he did so well in the Gold Cup. Why is he not? If you're even going to convert him into the wing, why is he not on the wing? Or why is he not playing instead of Zardes, right? Like, I don't have a problem with Zardes. It's just like you have the quality on the bench. Why are we not using that quality? I can understand if you didn't call any of these people in. But you called in Matthew Hoppe. He flew over from Spain to be here, and he's played 0 minutes. Chris Richards came over from Bayern and Hoffenheim and has not played yet.
Yeah.
We have Joe Scally, who's still over at Mönchengladbach, I think. And
who many think should be on this roster all the time.
Right. And then we have Conrad is not in this camp, but he was in last camp.
Yeah.
And we know last camp we had a problem with wingers, and we didn't bring him this camp. It's very confusing. You know, John Anthony Brooks was called in, and then he got injured and can't be here, and no replacement named. Are we just being cheap? Does U.S. Soccer not want to pay for flights or something? I don't understand why we're not naming replacement players. This has been a thing all year.
Somebody tweeted something that's really funny. I forget who it was. I think it was a reply to somebody. I they did get a lot of things. They're like, "We're lucky that Jackson Yule's not here." It's like, I like Jackson, but it's true. It's like he would definitely have stuffed Jackson Yule into that Musa role and been like, "Okay, we'll just play Jackson Yule there. Why not?"
And look, I like Leggett, but if you look at some of the stuff that he was doing, passing it backwards every time, we're not being creative. Like, there's a time where Musa, it's been online, you can see it on Twitter, Musa gets the ball and tries to make an attack forward, passes it to Leggett, starts making a run. Leggett instead just turns around, passes it to the center back while he's got 3 options that he could pass to forward. And we're, when we're away from home, we got to be able to make some of those passes and have the quality. And, Brendan Aronson got taken out in the 60th minute in Austin. We're thinking him, that they're taking him off to save legs, right? Pepe only played 60 minutes last week too, 68 minutes or whatever. We're thinking, okay, he'll take him off, save legs, and on Wednesday they'll play, or Sunday they'll play. Aronson doesn't come until the 46th minute. I don't know. I know a lot of people said Musa wasn't good. I also saw a lot of people say he was good in Panama. So,
I mean, what is Musa supposed to do though with those two?
So what I'm saying is, why is he got taken off in the 46th?
Yeah, like why is he even out there if he's like why? I'm shocked. Like why is he? I would have thought if you were going to turn over the lineup this much, why is he out there then? Like why not throw in De La Torre? Like why not just be like, okay, like we're obviously conceding, so let's just throw somebody out there, or Busio. Like why not? Like I don't understand. Like if you're gonna turn the lineup completely. Don't leave it haphazardly. And now Musa might not even be fresh for Wednesday because you went out there and played him with a bunch of the. And it sounds horrible, but a bunch of the MLS guys. And the best thing about it is that, and they were talking about this. They go, he was even choosing guys that weren't even the best MLS guys to have out there. So it's like, I mean, it's just I'm so confused by
Yeah,
half of what he does.
Here it is. Here's the lineup, right? In case people were not aware. Shaq Moore. I'm totally fine with Shaq Moore. Not a problem for me.
He's played well.
Okay. Mark McKenzie, Walker Zimmerman, George Bello. 3 out of the back 4 are changed. It's not typically a good sign. Your back line is what you want to have like the most consistency of, especially the center 2, and we are always rotating those center 2.
Sean Johnson must have been sick.
Yeah. Let's see. Then we had in the midfield, if my mouse is going to work. Okay. Acosta, Musa, and Leggett. Not a lot of creativity there. Acosta's not super creative. Leggett hasn't been. Right?
Yeah.
They have Paul Areola and Timothy Weah and Zardes. I almost think you can't really judge the front 3 because they barely got any service.
Right. I like the Weah move too because Weah played extremely well in Austin. He deserved to play, but not like this.
Give the people what they want, right?
Yeah.
They wanted Weah to start, but I mean, I would have started Aronson and Weah, and then you can bring on Areola or whatever if you needed to.
Yeah. It just seems
our
like
bench.
This is the wrong
Here's
way.
Our bench: Delatorre, Busio, Hoppe, Yedlin, Brendan Aronson, Miles Robinson, Roldan, Richards, Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams didn't even start. Sean Johnson, Pepe, and Des. So, Pepe didn't even start, right, after being taken off in the 68th minute, too. So what were we conserving them for at the end of that game? It seemed to have made sense then. Like, okay, take them off, and they can at least go the first 45, 60 minutes of the next game.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe they'll start again on Wednesday. At this point, I'm done. This is why we don't put out lineups.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done trying to figure out these lineups because they're never consistent. They're never what we want. And we're just going to have to deal with it. And, okay, again, the question is, if we lose Wednesday, is he fired? It's a home game.
Like, I'd fire him, but I'm not making decisions.
I think if you lose a close game, probably not. But if it's, again, 0 shots on goal, which we didn't talk about, 0 shots on goal. And if we look like the first half of Jamaica and the first of both halves of this game, I mean, at this point, we're just getting points by not even playing well. And which is fine, I guess. But that means we're not going to do well at the World Cup. I honestly don't think so because it's not like they're going to fire him after qualifying, right? No. So it's risky. And we've already kind of talked about who are even the options. I saw somebody say Tab Ramos. I said, no, thank you. He's been bad at Houston. He did not qualify with the U23s. I think some people don't recognize he was a manager of that at some point. I don't think I'm taking Tab. It literally is Bob Bradley or Peter Vermees, I think.
I'd take Oscar at this point.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving.
I don't think he'll leave Orlando.
He's not, I don't think he has any ties to this national team.
But I think you're right. I think I guess the one good thing is Berhalter is going to have to. He's going to be in some pressure here because as soon as the December window rolls around, that December window could be the first time that you see a new coach. So it really just depends, and it depends also, I think, on performance in MLS. And I think that what you said, Jordan, I think Peter Vermees is finally ready. If he was wanting to jump over and jump ship, I think this is a perfect time for him as they'll be rebuilding some. And they've got a really good team. I think that they've got a good team, and he's done what he's needed to do. I think they've outperformed sometimes maybe some of their talent, but I think that he's done a fantastic job with Sporting Kansas City. I don't know if that team would be the same without him, and I think that Bob Bradley is another good option. I really hope they don't just start signing, guys from the system, because I think a lot of times the system ends up being the same system, and I'm afraid they'll keep, at least hopefully if they kept the same system, they would have at least some lineup consistency, because you're never going to get that with Berhalter. And like you said, Jordan, is he going to do this in the World Cup? If he did this during World Cup, people would flip their lid. And it seems like he's not scared to do it. Like, these are huge games, and he knows what's on the line. He knows we didn't qualify last time, so don't play. I'd much rather let's run everybody out there, get the points we need. They can rest later, like give them the games off. They're 18 and 20 years old. Like they don't need.
They can miss their club games. I tell you that much. This is more important. This is more important. I know a lot of people keep sharing this quote from Norwich saying that the reason Sargent wasn't called in was because they're focusing on players in MLS for this window. I think that's not entirely true. I think some people will say it is true because whatever, we've had MLS players called in this window. But when you see Hoppy called in and Pepe, I think it was Norwich's way of saying, like, Sargent kind of lost his starting job for the U.S. team.
Yeah, because he's marketing.
Right. It's Pepe is taken over. We got Pepe fever. So, but again, he can play in all 3 games. At
least 2.5. Like, he's 18 years old. If he can't, dude, he was playing like 6 games a weekend like 2 years ago. Like, I don't understand it. I really don't. And with Dallas out of the playoffs, really, that like, what is your hesitancy? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, explain it to me, Greg. I don't understand what's going on. I don't get why again, he does favor a lot of people. And like you said, Jordan, I would not be shocked at all if we go to the lineup on Wednesday and Zach Steffen's in goal. And I can tell you from being a City fan, he is not in good form right now. It's because he just doesn't get the reps. Matt Turner is our goalkeeper. He's number 1. If he puts Zach Steffen in, then you know that he's just going to continue to play with these loyalties. And then if they lose Jordan, I'd fire him right after the game.
So let's look at who we've got here. I would assume if I'm coach, Tyler Adams is starting.
Yeah.
You have Richardson, Robinson, or Walker, Zimmer, and Robinson. Okay.
That's
then
a coin
you
toss.
have what?
That's a coin toss. I could go either way on those.
Then I think you go Weah, Aronson, Pepe up top.
Yeah.
And you can bring on Hoppy if you need to. And then in the midfield, you probably go with like I said, Adams, Musa,
McKennie.
Yeah, he'll be back home. And then the back line, like I said, Robinson, Richards, Turner in goal, and then on the right, you have Sergino Dest, who didn't even play. No,
he's been hurt. He got pulled off. There's something wrong with his leg.
He made the bench though.
Yeah. So it must not have been that serious, but I know it was maybe cramping. I just realized too, Jordan, this game coming up's at lower.com. There's no way Zach Steffen's not starting.
That would be, we'll see. That's a good point.
Let's see what Greg has up his sleeve. I wouldn't be shocked if Zardes and Steffen are starting.
So, you're right. You're totally right. It could happen. So let's go ahead and look at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, which is probably the day this episode's releasing. USA versus Costa Rica at lower.com field. USA has 7 wins. Costa Rica has 4 wins. I think these are in USA. Now, Columbus is usually a safe haven for the USA against Mexico, and that's who they usually play here, but probably could be the same here for Costa Rica. And I think that remembering now that it's in Columbus probably fills me with a little bit more positivity about this game.
The Heartland. On
Wednesday. But I think we'll win this game. Costa Rica has not been good recently. I think we win this game, and for better or worse, we cover up the holes, the potholes in this road to Qatar, and then we'll see if the tires will still pop later on down the road and we don't qualify. We'll see, right? I mean, I don't know when is the last time you can make a last-ditch effort to change the coach. We might be
January.
Qatar or bust at this
Yeah.
point.
I would think January because there's that nice gap between Christmas. But I think I imagine they'll play a friendly in December, because that's a long time to wait. That seems like a really long time, but maybe not.
I don't think they will. No, usually January is when we do our camp cupcake stuff, and I don't think.
Oh, and December is a crowded one for Europe.
I don't think we'll be able to do that. So here's what we got. We might be able to do an early January window, but that's usually going to be MLS guys because of the European calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. We have October still. We have mid-November.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a break until January 30th, and then February 2nd. And then we have end of March, March 27th, March 30th. That's scary. So by the end of March, we're going to know if we make it or not.
And the long dread would be just awful because you'd be in this like lull in sports in the summer months where you're just thinking about not qualifying. At least MLS will be back.
Yeah, so here's what we got table-wise. We got Mexico in first with 11 points, USA in second with 8, Panama in third with 8, Canada in fourth with 7, Costa Rica in fifth with 6, El Salvador in sixth with 5 points, Honduras in seventh with 3 points, Jamaica in eighth with 2 points. So Costa Rica only has 1 win. Canada has 1 win and 4 draws for as good as they've been, if not lost. But they have not won more than 1 game.
And Canada and Panama play each other at Canada on Wednesday. So that could be helpful. Like, it depends on what you really would want. I guess
you want them to draw again, right? That would put Panama at 9, Canada at 8. And then if we win, that puts us at 11. And we start having a 3 to 4 point separation,
right?
Is what we need. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And it's
that, or you got to pick us to who you think will drop.
Is it in Canada or is it in?
It's at BMO, so it's in Canada.
So Canada hasn't been winning though, so I mean, it's okay, I guess.
I guess the thing too is that it really does. It really depends on, because you're starting to see some real separation. Like I think you're starting to see from 6 down. Obviously, Costa Rica's still in it right now, but after a couple more losses, they could be out of it too. But if you look at like Canada and Panama, like who's going to give us the ultimate chance and stay down in the 4 spot? I feel like it'd be Panama at the end of the day, but they've played a little bit better. They've played better than Canada, I think. Like if you look at it, I mean, they've played games where, like I know Canada's had some impressive games, but overall, Panama defends well. They've only given up 2 goals. It's the lowest amount in this qualifier.
Yeah, Panama drew with Mexico as well.
Yeah, and that's a good result for them. I mean, they're a team up and coming. Yeah.
If
they drew at Canada, maybe we want Canada to lose. Canada.
They drew with Costa Rica. They beat El Salvador, right? And they've lost. They lost to.
They lost
to Jamaica. That was the shocking one, right? No, they beat Jamaica, right?
They
lost to El Salvador, I think.
I can tell you. Hold on.
If I'm reading this right.
They lost to El Salvador 1-0 back in October 7th. Oh, they lost this window. That's wild. They're unpredictable. They're the ones causing the headaches for everybody.
So no panic button yet. We have to also keep in mind, this is a different setup than usual. This is 14 games, right? Instead of the 10,
10
that we used to play. So things are going to be able to slide a little bit more. At this point, we would already be halfway through qualifying at 5 games, and we'd be like, second place halfway through, that feels okay, right?
Yeah.
Like, with 5 games to go, but we have 9. No, we don't have 9 games left, do we?
Yeah, 9.
9 games
1,
left?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah.
Yeah, 3 in November, 2 in January.
The 3 in March, we really want to be.
2 in March, or is it 3 in March?
There's 3 in March. It's two in November, 3 in January and February, and then 3 in March. The next one's good because we play.
Oh, yeah.
The good thing is both times we play Mexico, and here's an advantage because Greg screws us over. Here is our advantage. We play Mexico first the next 2 windows. So like the next 3 windows. So every time we play Mexico, it's to start our window, which is good.
So we should have a healthy team by then. And let's not forget also, no Reyna, no Pulisic. So we might be good to go by November.
And I think you really are missing the anchor of the back line. Like John Anthony Brooks has a couple rough games, but I think he's such a heartbeat, I think, in that back line.
Yeah, so here's the next window. Like you said, Mexico, November 12th in Cincinnati. And then we play Jamaica at Independence Park in Kingston. We should be able to beat Jamaica in Jamaica. We're going to want to win or draw Mexico at home. We got to
if we win against Mexico, that's huge. Like that's a really big step because that'll put us up there with them.
And well, that's if they don't.
If we don't
win the next. Well, that's if we don't lose this one and they because we have to make sure there's still 3 points between us by then. And then you're right, we'd be even, and I feel really good about qualifying.
Yeah, me too.
Then we make it, like you said. Canada has Mexico again on match day 8. And Canada also has Costa Rica. So they got 2 tough games coming up. Panama has Honduras and El Salvador. Yep. Costa Rica has Honduras and Canada.
Why is Mexico playing Ecuador? Where did that come from? They're playing a friendly?
Where's that at?
Mexico's playing a friendly against Ecuador on October 27th.
Oh, yeah, I guess they are.
In the United States.
Huh.
In North Carolina.
Mexico country. Okay. Well, that's about it. So let's go ahead. We got Costa Rica, U.S. tonight. Tonight, I'm releasing this on Wednesday. So tonight at 7, ESPN 2, Unimas TDN, ESPN Plus. Canada and Panama face off, and then El Salvador, Mexico. Then on Saturday, we have Montreal, Philadelphia Union, LAFC versus San Jose, Columbus versus Miami, New England versus Chicago, Cincinnati versus Orlando, DC United versus Nashville, Toronto versus Atlanta, Houston versus Seattle, Austin versus Minnesota, RSL versus Colorado, LA Galaxy versus Portland. Then on Sunday, we have Red Bulls, NYCFC, and Vancouver versus Kansas City. We had some news here for Cincinnati as well that we forgot to talk about here, which was they have signed a general manager. They have signed Chris Albright from the Philadelphia Union. I remember him as a player too, so it's funny now that he's right there. We'll see how it goes. I was reading around that they said that this is one of the least interesting jobs because a lot of people think that the owner has a lot of control in Cincinnati and that maybe they won't be able to fully do what they want. I'm assuming Chris Albright just couldn't turn down this opportunity of, leaving the Union and, heading up your own team, especially a team that's so bad that he'd be a legend if he even gets them out of the wooden spoon spots. All right. Anything else, Logan?
Play Matthew Hoppe, Greg, if you're listening.
I'm sure he is. You can follow us on Twitter at Stateside Show, Instagram at Stateside Show, Facebook.com/Stateside Show, and email us statesideShow@gmail.com. And we will catch you all next week breaking down the USA game against Costa Rica and either crying tears of joy or sadness, and then talk about those MLS fixtures on the weekend. So thanks everybody for listening and have a great rest of your week.